About 300 ministries, departments and agencies are reported to have inflated their personal budget by about 18 billion naira. Now, this is one of the many discoveries contained in the report by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Offences Commission and unveiled by President Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja. President Buhari also frowns on the 1 trillion naira spent on constituency projects with no impact on the people. Our correspondent Ibrahim Adra reports.
Section of participants at the summit. His task is to declare open the event, but not before unveiling this report.
The chairman of the Code of Conduct Bureau.
In 10 months, the ICPC rolled out several initiatives that produced the content of the report.
What we have done briefly in the past 10 months. So in April, we commenced the tracking of constituency projects covering the first term of Mr. President's tenure from 2015 to 2018.
The efforts led to many discoveries, most of them constituting a drain on the nation's resources.
Many of the contracts were inflated, yet they were poorly executed. Substandard items were used against specifications in the Bill of Engineering Measurements and Evaluation, thus diminishing the value of the project to the intended beneficiaries.
The report also found personnel payroll is padded. Some of the health and educational institutions fingered for inflating their payrolls include University of Benin Teaching Hospital, Federal Medical Center Bayelsa, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, University of Jos, University College Hospital Ibadan, Usman Danfodio University, as well as the University of Ibadan. Professor Bolaji Owosanoi says these institutions and all those implicated will be given the opportunity to explain themselves. Other discoveries are that some MDA spent 9.2 billion of capital funds and overhead-related items, contrary to extant financial regulations, among others. President Buhari speaks on the constituency projects while charging the National Assembly on special courts.
It is on record that in the last 10 years, 1 trillion naira has been appropriated for constituency projects. Yet the impact of such huge spending on the lives and welfare of ordinary Nigerians can hardly be seen. I have directed that all agencies of government must get on the integrated payroll and personnel information system. I therefore urge the legislature to fast-track the passage of the Special Crimes Court Bill.
One of the recommendations in the report is that MDAs not on IPs should not be paid, as the review shows that most of the guilty MDAs are not on IPs. Meanwhile, ACG Bashir Abubakar of Nigerian Customs Service and Mrs. Josephine Ugu of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria received the 2019 Public Service Integrity Award. While Mr. Abubakar is said to have turned down huge monetary bribe, Mrs. Ugu, whose salary is 12,000 naira, found and returned huge sums of money. For integrity, she gets a house built for her in Lagos. From the presidential villa, Ibrahim Adra, Channels Television News.
Well, we'll have more on the Special Crimes Court Bill and, of course, its implications as the bulletin progresses. But let's move on now. And heads of security agencies in the country have been encouraged to sustain the momentum in efforts to ensure peace and security of lives and property. This was revealed after heads of the nation's security outfits met with President Muhammadu Buhari at the State House in Abuja. The Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Adamu, who spoke to State House correspondents, believes the security situation in most parts of the country has improved remarkably. He attributed the success to effective strategies and support of members of the public.
We've realized that the security situation in the country is stable. Banditry has been reduced to the barest minimum. Kidnapping has been reduced significantly. The epicenter of this kidnapping that you know generally in the northwestern part of the country, especially Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna, they are all camp now, very camp. The insurgency in the northeast on a daily basis they have been degraded, and many of the insurgents are surrendering to the authority and they're giving up their arms. And for that reason, we've been encouraged to sustain the tempo, and all the successes were recorded as a result of the cooperation that came from members of the public, including the press, because most of you objectively gave the assessment of the actual security situation in the country, which your followers, of course, agreed to the way it is. So we've been encouraged to continue with the tempo so as to see that insurgency is greatly eliminated from the country, and then the politicians and the hunters that have been working with us and other stakeholders, we've been encouraged to work more closely with such group of people so as to have the information that we require, so as to have the support that we require in order to defeat any form of criminality in the country.
From security to the judiciary, and the Katsina High Court has adjourned the trial of former Governor Ibrahim Shima and 3 others to December the 11th and the 12th. Today's hearing, which was presided over by Justice Meketa Bako, was to look at the statement of the 4th accused person, Mr. Lawal Dankaba, which was, however, rejected by the court. In 2015, Mr. Dankaba told the court that he was among those conspired with the federal government, that's the governor, with the former governor, to divert the money, but he later claimed to have issued the statement was made under duress, alleging that the EFCC allegedly forced it out of him. The former governor is on trial for alleged misappropriating 10.8 billion naira belonging to the state chapter of Algon between 2007 and 2015. Well, President Muhammadu Buhari has asked the Academic Staff Union of Universities and other staff unions to beam their searchlight on academic corruption and restore sanity to tertiary institutions. The President's message was delivered at the 71st anniversary of the University of Ibadan Founders' Day celebration. Legal icon Afe Balola was also honoured at the event with a doctorate degree. Our correspondent Bukola Uriowo reports.
The procession signals the start of the 71st Founders' Day ceremony of the University of Ibadan. Dignitaries including the Royal Highness, the Sultan of Sokoto, and members of his emirate soon joined other royal fathers in the front row of the Capacity Field Hall, which also has a general overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God in Okadiboye.
Congratulations to the graduates here seated. We want to extend...
President Muhammadu Buhari, represented by the Executive Secretary of the National Universities Commission, Professor Abubakar Rashid Raji, asked staff unions to take seriously the internal university management flaws to restore confidence in the system.
I want to challenge them to throw their searchlight on the issue of corporate governance of their various institutions. It would amount to unwholesome critical posturing if their criticism is directed at the perceived failure of governments alone, while they look away at obvious governance inadequacies of their own institutions right under their noses.
While assuring the university of total support towards its growth after 71 years, the host governor, Seyi Makinde, harped on the importance of research.
The research you carry out here is extremely important to us. So do not hesitate to have your students approach us to learn of areas where we need research so that their work can be useful to us and the people of Oyo State.
Students in the university watch in awe as a climax saw the honorary doctorate degrees conferred on 5 distinguished academics, including the founder of Afe Babalola University, Ado-Ekiti, Are Afe Babalola, as performed by the Chancellor, Sultan of Sokoto.
I was in Ibadan, and I passed all my examinations, whether GC, BSc, or LLB, all at home. I never went to any university. And they all happened in Ibadan. Today, I'm honored in the same Ibadan on the same first day celebration of UI, which incidentally coincides with the 71 years of my living at for Ibadan.
In his final address, the Vice-Chancellor, University of Ibadan, Professor Idowu Olayinka, solicited support from President Buhari to enable the University of Ibadan reconstruct and rehabilitate some structures to maintain the pride of the institution. Bukola Oriowo, Channels Television News.
The Minister of Information and Culture says the federal government will mandate the National Broadcasting Commission to come up with new regulations for internet and mainstream broadcast organizations. Mr. Lai Mohammed disclosed this in Abuja after he received reports of the committee inaugurated last month to study and make recommendations on the government's proposals to reform the NBC. The minister also urged the NBC to review its fines from 500,000 naira to 5 million naira for breaches relating to hate speech. He also recommended the suspension of broadcast licenses for organizations that willfully repeat infractions on 3 occasions.
I will be directing the NBC to take the following actions in line with the report of the Implementation Committee. 1, to immediately come out with fresh regulations that will promote the local broadcast industry and protect the Nigerian broadcast industry from monopolistic tendencies. I will also direct the NBC to immediately come up with regulations for the broadcast of content on the internet and the web. Of course, the regulations must not in any way gag the press or hinder their universal role of providing valuable information to the citizenry. In line with Mr. President's directive, the Commission will be mandated to amend the code through new regulations to reflect the following. 1, upward review of fines from 500,000 to 5 million naira for breaches relating to hate speeches, inciting comments and indecency, and willful repeat of infractions on 3 occasions after levying fine and paying the fine, or a station will attract immediate suspension of license.